We've worked with a lot of people to and through retirement over the last 10 years or so in our financial planning practice. And unfortunately, as a lot of those people have gotten older, they've looked back on their retirements with a few really consistent regrets. So in this video, we're going to summarize the top 5 retirement regrets we've heard from our clients over the last decade or so of being in business and share some tips you can hopefully use to avoid them in your own retirement. So the first regret that a lot of people have noted that we've talked to is not prioritizing their health earlier on in their lives. A lot of people are, when they're in the meats of their careers, their high earnings years, they're at the top of the food chain, they're trying to make hay, make a lot of money while the sun shines, it's really easy to set your health aside. You're probably encountering a lot of stress. You might be working long hours. It's easy to skip meals, not eat healthy, not exercise, and not find that kind of healthy balance that everybody's always searching for. That's a huge mistake because the last 10 or 15 years of your life later on in your retirement are really quite challenging for everybody physically. And if you can maintain some more consistency with your health early on, you can avoid a lot of health problems and maybe balance that out to where your last 10 or 15 years on this earth are a heck of a lot more fun. The second regret we've heard over and over and over from people is that they retired too late. There's a lot to life beyond the walls of your workplace. And as you go through your career, you're probably making a little bit more money, more and more and more. And it's easy just to chase the paycheck week to week, to pad your retirement accounts, to pad your net worth, to feel completely comfortable when you transition into retirement. I've got news for you. Unfortunately, it's never 100% comfortable when you give up your income and hope that your nest egg is just kind of big enough to last you the rest of your life. It's never completely comfortable. So don't postpone retirement. If you're someone who's itching to spread your wings and maybe do something else with your time, there are a lot of shades of gray here. Maybe you can taper down in your career and work part-time for a little while so you can have the best of both worlds. The point is, life is short and there's a lot to it beyond the walls of your workplace. The third regret we've seen over and over and over again in our financial planning practice is not having planned and saved early enough. So there's a couple stats I want to share here. We've heard a lot about the baby boomer generation hitting retirement age in just huge, huge numbers, right? Baby boomers are a large portion of our demographics here in this country, and a lot of people use age 65 as a pretty standard retirement timeline. Now, at this stage in the game, as I sit here recording this, we're toward the tail end of that baby boomer generation hitting age 65. The median age at which baby boomers started saving for retirement was age 35, which is relatively late. Of people who have retired, right, so we're looking at just retirees, about 2/3 of them wish they had done more planning prior to retiring and quitting their jobs. That doesn't have anything to do with savings, that's planning, coming up with a design for where the money is going to come from. Which account are you going to pull from first? What is your portfolio going to look like after you quit your job? How are you going to handle taxes? Do you need an annuity? All those questions that pretty much anybody retiring starts to ask themselves. Now, the other stat that I wanted to share with this is that of the people who don't feel adequately prepared financially for retirement, okay, so we're just looking at people who don't feel like they're in a comfortable spot and able to give up their income to retire. Over a quarter of them, over 25%, attribute that directly to not having saved at an early enough age. So the whole point here is that if you can manage to do your planning and start saving at an earlier age, the earlier that you start, the more comfortable you're going to feel when you do transition into retirement, the less you're going to regret it long term, right? The earlier you start, the better off you're going to be. And I've got news for you, unfortunately, it's never 100% comfortable for everybody. It's a psychological and emotional adjustment for everybody, and there's never 100% certainty that your retirement financial plan is going to work out the way that you think it is. The fourth regret that we've run into over and over again is putting off difficult decisions, whether that has to do with your finances, whether that has to do with your life, whether it has to do with relationships with friends and family, whatever. The whole point is that it's easy in the moment to put off a difficult decision. When you know you have to make a decision and do something that's not very comfortable, it's easy to deprioritize and just kind of kick that can down the road. When you do that, you're simply prolonging that period of discomfort. And it may be a little bit more comfortable to postpone that tough decision that you have to make in the moment. When you look back on it over a 10, 20, 30-year period, you're really creating a lot more stress and a lot more challenge for yourself. And even as uncomfortable as it might be to make a difficult decision, it's better to get started on the right path at an earlier date. And this is something that a lot of people that we've talked to about their retirement years looking back on it have shared with us. They just simply regret not having made difficult decisions and getting started down that right path for them at an earlier age. The fifth regret that we'll cover today in today's video is not prioritizing relationships enough. And again, this goes back to you're in the meat of your career, you're in your high earnings years. It's very easy to work long hours, to not call your friends back, to not make it to the family reunion, those kinds of things. It's easy to deprioritize that stuff. But again, there's a lot of life beyond the four walls of your workplace. And for people that have gone down that road, a lot of them regret not having nurtured more relationships outside of the workplace during their careers. Because if you have to start over from scratch when you're 62, 65, 70, after walking away from your career, that's a hard road and a very lonely path to walk. And a lot of people, having looked back on their own retirement transitions, a lot of them wish that they had found a little bit more balance during their working years. Again, maybe that means not having a full-time job and then going into full retirement. Maybe it means tapering down, working part-time for a little while to give yourself a little bit of stability in your day-to-day and social life while building up some of those relationships outside of the workplace. There's a lot of ways to do this, and unfortunately, a lot of retirees today simply regret not having prioritized relationships at an earlier date. All right, that's it for today's video. Make sure you tell me what I missed in the comments below. Subscribe to the channel to make sure that you don't miss notifications when we post new stuff. And if there's something else that you'd like to see, make sure to leave us a comment.